Okay, it's review time now. I don't normally do reviews. I want to start doing a few more, but on some products that I really do have an opinion about, kind of either way. Now for this one, obviously I'm not sponsored or anything. It was actually a Christmas present, and it is the Ember mug, which is a smart temperature controlled mug. Now I'm going to give you the pros and the cons, and hopefully it will help you make up your mind. I've actually had this mug on and had a cup of tea in it all through the filming, and it's the same cup of tea. I'm ready for a brand new one. So how it basically works, there's a coaster that comes with the mug that is plugged in, and this sits on the coaster, has a battery life of about an hour and a half, depending on how hot you have it, I'm guessing. There's an app that controls the temperature, so when you put your hot drink into the cup, it basically tells the what the temperature actually is. From there, it then will control that temperature and keep it at a certain temperature that you've told the mug to be at for as long as you want, really, unless the battery runs out because it's been left for over an hour and a half, or you turn it off, because if you're sitting on the coaster, it will keep it at that temperature for as long as you like. Now, I am based in this office, the Simply Create office, most of the time. I'm a big fan of hot drinks, so I'm a big tea lover and I'm a big coffee lover. Okay, so the first pro I want to talk about is the look of it. It actually looks good. It's got a nice feel to it. It's a ceramic mug. It's got a nice weight because at the bottom there's a heat element. There's a rubber grip as well at the bottom, which always helps with, obviously, when you're putting it down, just giving it that little bit more friction. But it looks nice. It looks cool. Yeah, it feels good. The outside is always cold. So no matter how hot it is in there, the actual outside, the way they've built it, it never kind of burns you. So I'm quite fussy with my mugs as well, in terms of I like a certain type of mug, and this fits it spot on. Now, one of the things I think this is really great for is anyone who actually works from home. Now, I work from home. This is the Simply Create office. I'm here a lot of the time where I'm video editing and creating on the computer. When I make myself a tea or coffee, and I imagine that you've all been in this scenario, you make it, you're ready for it, you have that nice first sip, and you jump into your work, and you're focused, and you're working away, and kind of when normally time goes by, and before you know it, there's that bit at the end, maybe a quarter, half to a quarter, and it's cold. You've left it, you've got so focused and engrossed in what you were doing, you forgot to drink your drink. So you either throw it away or you reheat it, which never is kind of the same. So this is perfect for anybody who is that kind of person, and that is definitely me. So it sits on the coaster and it just stays hot. It just continues to stay at the temperature that you set it. Now, it doesn't ever last really longer than an hour anyway, but it would have lasted a lot less if I had obviously just had it in a normal mug. It also is stopping waste. The amount of times I threw tea or coffee away down the sink because I only half drunk whatever I was drinking. This beauty stays hot until the very last drop. Now, that's a little bit discomforting when you first start out using this mug, because you're used to everything cooling down quite gradually. So if you're just having a normal cup of tea or coffee, that last bit of the tea or coffee is always a little bit lukewarmish, no matter if even if you're kind of drinking it fairly quickly. It's definitely cooler than the first sip anyway. This, however, the last sip is just as hot as the first sip. And so long as you're pacing it back on the coaster, you'll see the charging lights right at the bottom, and this is obviously the ring that connects to the coaster to keep the battery charged up. So the app is pretty intuitive, it's pretty simple. Once you've kind of logged in and connected via Bluetooth, you're away, really. And you'll know how that it's heating up, because it'll flash when it's heating up, and then when it's reached its temperature, it will be a solid color. Now, to be fair, I'm going to give you some of the cons with this mug as well. And the first one you're probably worrying about is, what's the price point? Now, first of all, I got this as a Christmas present, and it was a brilliant present. It was spot on. So if you're into your tea or coffee or hot drinking and you want to ask for a present, I would suggest asking for this mug, because I do use it all the time. It's currently sitting at Amazon at £80, and I am definitely like, whoa, £80 for a mug, I get it. but I do use it all the time, and I'm a big advocate for someone who, if I'm going to buy something, I want to be able to use it often. I don't want to buy something and use it once. The second con, and it's a big con for me, is washing up. You've got to wash it up. Now, there's two reasons. One is, obviously, you can't put it in a dishwasher, so you need to wash it up. And the second thing is that where it's got that heat element, where you got the bit at the bottom, obviously you drink all of it, but there's always that little bit that you kind of can't get to. It does, because of the heat, evaporate and kind of dry into the mug. So you have to kind of wash it fairly straight away, give it a good rinse out and wash. Now, the reason why this is a pain for me is because I do have a dishwasher and I hate washing up. And now for that dreaded time, washing up. Because it's on its coaster and it's kind of charging on and off all the time, I really don't notice anything to do with the battery. I've taken it off its coaster, I've gone for a read or, watching a program for an hour or so, and it's still staying nice and hot. And you can tell, you go away and you come back and it's kind of, you can still see the steam coming off of it. So yeah, because I've got a hot cup or a warm cup, because the outside doesn't really get hot, on a kind of cold surface, it creates a bit of condensation. So where this bit at the bottom here hits the Ember coaster, at the bottom sometimes there is a little bit of condensation where there's maybe a little kind of gap. Now I just wipe this up and it hasn't caused any problems, so I do kind of wipe that and give it a wipe fairly often. Okay, so here you go, it tells you I've got nothing in it left, nothing in it now, nothing left. This is the scroll bar at the bottom where you can make it hotter or colder. You've got a swipe up function here where it has presets, so you can turn your heater off anyway, or it's got some stuff that you can kind of set it for. A timer, and obviously there's another feature of recipes. You've got here as well the brightness in which you want the light on your mug. You've got the personalization, which color you want. Obviously I've gone Simply Create Orange. Battery level, so 82%. So I've had it on and off while recording for ages, probably about an hour now, if not longer, and it's at 82%. So again, the battery life, although I heard could be probably longer, it's probably an opinion thing, the battery could be longer. It's actually at the stage where do you even need it for longer than an hour and a half? And if you put it back on the coaster anyway, it's charging it. The temperature, Celsius or Fahrenheit. You can turn your notifications on, which is, I don't have them on, but the notifications actually tell you when the mug has reached its desired temperature, and that's from cooling down or heating up. So yeah, that's the app. It's pretty easy. Once you've messed around with the app a bit, you do have to play with it a little bit, not necessarily app, but getting the temperature to how you want it and what you want. I've got one tip that I kind of found out fairly early on, which is that if you have your hot drink with milk in it and you leave it too high for too long, so having it hot isn't always the best, it's about getting the right temperature for what you're drinking, it will start to put that little bit of skin on the top because you're basically kind of keeping it hot all that time with the milk in. Without milk, that doesn't happen. So with green tea or coffee without milk, have it as hot as you want, really. So I'm just boiling the kettle now, and I'm going to show you what happens when you pour the hot water into the mug on the app. The heat is off and it is empty. Now I'm going to pour the hot water into the mug. I'm going to put this away so we stay safe. So as you can see, the temperature has gone off. Now the heat is off, so that's just going to start cooling down as it normally would in a normal mug. But if we turn the heater on, we can either pick one of the presets, which let's say we've got coffee in there, and obviously it goes orange and lets you know. Now you see those dials moving at the bottom of the app. That's telling you that it's cooling down. Obviously it's going to be cooling down, we're going to take the temperature up, but you can actually scroll to the right or to the left and have it at the temperature that you want. So if you have used a preset for starting off and then realize that actually it's too cold or too hot, you can find out what your perfect temperature is, and then from then on you can keep it at that temperature. So that's what it's doing now. It's cooling it down to 60 degrees for me. So here were the pros and here were the cons. But in summary, for me, I love it. I actually love it. I would recommend anybody to get one. I would recommend anybody to ask for one as a gift, especially if you're a big tea drinker or coffee drinker or hot drink drinker. If you drink it lots of time, if you are a worker or someone who gets distracted or focused, depending on how you look at it, or it's someone who's like a reader, because obviously while you're reading your book, to keep that getting up and down or finishing it too early after your first chapter, this one can go on a little while. I definitely now finish my tea or coffee rather than it going cold, that's for sure. I hope you found this review helpful. It's just my opinion. I've been as honest as I can be, but I do think it's a great product from Ember, especially if you're into your hot drinks. If you've got any other questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll get back to you and see if I can answer them. And obviously, if you liked it, hit the like. And you know by now that to show support for any of these kind of videos, you need to hit the subscribe button. That's always helpful too. I hope you've enjoyed it, but you know what time it is now? It's time for another cuppa.